What are some obstacles that prevent you from achieving your goals, and how do you overcome them? I want to talk about today on setting goals, setting not just goals, but clear goals and vision. In my discussion today, I also want to remember the scripture that brings life to me from Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1 through 4, a very familiar passage if you are in the faith, but just so that you can hear. It says this in Habakkuk 2, 1, and it says, I will stand upon watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon the tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, and not upright in him, but he that the just shall live by his faith. Some points of emphasis right here in the very beginning is that if we look at this passage here, it clearly states that all visions and goals should be written down. That's the first thing. All visions and goals should be written down. Clearly what it states there in the second verse. The next thing to look at here is that the vision must affect a body of people. Do you hear that? It must affect a body of people. It could be your family, it could be business, it could be ministry. And the next thing is visions and goals mean action, not waiting. So that means that your vision has to have life. It means action. It could be a component. It could be preparing paper or finding the financial things that are needed. Whatever the case may be, that the visions and goals mean action, not waiting. And the next thing is there is a future selected time that the vision will be used. There's an appointed time. It's in the future. God's not going to give you a vision today and you start today. The vision will sit with you for a while. He'll tell you how to write it down. He'll tell you how to put it together. Then you will effectively use it. If you're working and doing a vision, it's simply sometimes it takes you a while to get it actually set out how God wants you to be. The mistake that we make sometimes is that we move too quick. We set ourselves up in the vision and God gives us a vision and we think it's time for us to run and take care of that thing immediately. But I'm letting you know that vision has an appointed time in the future. You must take the time that it takes to prepare and put things together. You can't not rush what God is trying to do. The mistake, if Jesus, when he was in the temple, had started preaching and said he was going to go to the cross, it had been before his time. So his mother had to let him know, son, it was not yet your time yet. But when it was time for him to do it, he was ready and he was equipped. So I'm saying to you that God can give you a vision, but it's going to take time for you to prepare and put it together. The Bible simply says this: before you put your hand to the plow, count up the cost. There's a cost to anything that you do. There's a cost to your life. There's a cost to your job. There's a cost to working. I myself work a job and I'm sitting here going and trying to perfect what I am trying to do, and I got tired of just sitting there at a position and sitting there. I wanted to do more, so I enrolled in something different so I can learn more. In my learning that, I am being taught things that I was not taught in the previous position. What am I saying to you? That in this life, when we go through stuff or when we're facing things or we set out to do something, there's going to be a time of training, a time of understanding, a time of building, a time of preparing. So set goals and set your vision, but always be working that. Watch this. Here's the next thing. Motivation and action leads us toward the goal. That means you have to be motivated to do it. I was watching something earlier this morning when I was looking on Instagram and going through, and I came across, I like to look at these motivational quotes and posts, and the guy says, when you first wake up in the morning, say, do it now, 5 times, do it now, do it now. And he says actually to effectively start things in your body, because sometimes if we don't say do it now, we will procrastinate. We won't get it done. We'll be lazy. And we got to just say we're going to do it now. No, we're not going to talk about it. We're going to do it now. And what I'm saying to you, that your vision and the goals that you have set, the things you have set from the beginning of the year, now you're looking at September, and not one or two of your goals are even finished, and you have not accomplished it yet. I'm saying to you that it takes time, but you got to be motivated to continue till you see the results. And here's the next thing: vision and goals should not be dismissed. What does that mean? That you cannot throw them away. They can't be discarded. You simply need to utilize them. Now, God may not remove a vision, but he may perfect the vision and make it better than what you thought. That's why Proverbs 2:6 says, for the Lord giveth wisdom, out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. So if God is giving us understanding, if God is giving us wisdom, he is causing us to plan our steps. He is causing us to do the things that we are doing. But there's a progression to it that takes time to get things done, but you must spend time perfecting yourself. If you're going to school to be a doctor, it takes years to become that. You just don't start off and become a doctor. There's a jail for you if you do that. What I'm saying to you is that you need to understand that there's a progression and a concession that has to happen. There's a process that God will take you through to grow whatever he has for you to do. Because we need to know that there are things that we need to know. Here's some things you need to write down. The first thing is trusting in God's sovereignty. We need to know that God is sovereign, that God can do what he wants to, how he wants to with us. If we trust him and we love him and we need him in our life, we need to know that we must trust God's sovereignty. Not simply just setting goals can help us. Now, if we set goals, we got to trust God to fulfill it. That's why the goals that you set need to have a time frame to it. They need to have a process to it. They need to be able to move in succession. You can't jump from $50,000 to $1 billion. There's a process that you have to go through. If you're trying to save money, you don't get to $10,000 in one day unless you are rich or wealthy. But if you're not wealthy and you're only living off so much money $500, and it takes time to get to that. It is the same thing when you're setting goals and you set your vision. You need to know that it's just time to do it now. Tell yourself, do it now. Don't be waiting for it. Just do it now, because your purpose is yet up for the Lord. And here's the next thing: you must have flexibility and adaptability. That means you have to be flexible. What you did 2 years ago won't be the same. What you did 15 years ago is not going to work now. If you look back 20 years ago or 30 years ago, there wasn't a phone. There wasn't a cell phone. There wasn't YouTube. There wasn't the things that we have now. So things now in this time are being done differently. And what I'm saying to you, that you have to be flexible and have adaptability within yourself. That means without set goals, we may be more open to changes and unexpected opportunities. That means when you set something, that's the only thing that you're going to work toward. If you're working to be a musician, then your focus is music. It's going to be that. It's going to be what you're working toward. And what I'm saying is that doesn't mean you go out there and be a lawnmower person. Now, I'm saying that what you're working toward is what's building you. You must have flexibility and adaptability. Here's the next thing: reduce stress and anxiety. Not setting goals can reduce stress and anxiety, as we're not burdened by specific expectations or deadlines. Reduce stress and anxiety when you're working towards it. I'm saying that your gift must make room for you, but if you never spend time working on it effectively, You can't move to where you're trying to go. Here's the next thing. Lack of direction and purpose. If there's no direction, the people will perish. If there's no way of getting to where you need to go, if there's lack of direction and purpose, you will not. Without goals, you may lack direction and purpose. Set a goal for yourself. If you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to buy a home, set goals for yourself and benchmark so that growth can happen. Here's the next thing. Not setting goals can lead to missed opportunities as we may not be prepared or focus on achieving specific objectives, which means that there may be some missed opportunities. There may be some opportunities that we will miss because we're not effectively trying to do what we are trying to do. We are just amassing ourselves and living day by day. But you must have a way of getting things done. The next thing is this: stagnation and complacency. That means stagnation means you're sitting still and you're not progressing. You're just there. You're being lazy. Without goals, we may become complacent and stagnant. Watch this. Failing to grow or improve. Let me explain to you that you must lead. Leaders are readers. That means you must always be reading something. You must always be listening to something. Turn Netflix off and turn the educational video or read a book before you go to sleep. You must constantly drill your mind on the things, because if you sit stagnant and wait on things to come to you, then you can't grow. There's an app that I use. It's called Headway. And what it is, they're taking books and they've broken them down into principles of the book. And it takes only about 15 minutes to listen to it. And it just breaks down the book. So there are books on that I've read before. It helps me to refresh myself on the things that I've learned and the principles that the author was trying to portray in this book. Because I'm always feeding things to my mind in order to grow. We have to make sure that we are growing and doing what we need to do, but we can't do it if we don't set goals, if we don't activate the goals that we have set, if we're not using those goals that we've set that we're going to do. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to create more income. I'm going to save 10% of my income. I'm going to give more. I'm going to help more. Whatever your goals are should supersede what you have placed, because if you don't, you'll just be moving aimlessly. Three things that you have to understand: that God was speaking with his sovereignty and his providence. He was saying this, that you must have planning, you must have preparation, and there must be diligence. Planning, you gotta plan how to do it. You maybe can do one aspect of your vision on Monday and the next aspect on Tuesday. But you have to make sure that you're working in an effective manner so that you can grow. I'm reading a book now called 10X is Better Than 2X. And this book is absolutely changing my life on what it means, that they say if you stay stuck in 2X, then you won't get the 10X in your life. And how you 10X your life is focusing on those things, the 20% that is important, the 20% that can grow your life. What am I saying to you is that there must be planning, there must be preparation, and there must be diligence, which simply means a balanced approach to goal setting can help us align our plans with God's purpose. There's one thing about Habakkuk that you probably didn't know. Habakkuk was asking God. He was actually asking God a question. The reason why that he got the portrayal of write the vision and make it plain. Most of the time we spend time focusing on, well, why did Habakkuk do this? And why did he say this? And most of the time we apply it to our lives and to various areas, to the church growth. But he was literally trying to asking God a question. God, you got to let the Babylonians take us out. God, why are you doing it to the children of Israel? He was asking God these questions. He was asking, God told him. And if you notice in the first verse, we always go to the second, but in the first verse, he began to pray and talk to God. That first verse explains that he's praying and talking to God. Look at what it says. I will stand upon my watch and set upon the Lord, and will watch to see what he will say unto me. and what I shall answer when I'm reproved. Do you see that in there? He says, I'm standing upon a rock. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for God to speak to me. I'm waiting for God to tell me what to do so God can let me know my next steps. And God simply told him in the second verse to write the vision and make it plain. And I think that's the thing. We have vision, but we do not make it plain. We're not making what's plain in our life. So we're losing the points that are trying to become what it is. I remember years ago, I was I was a drummer in high school, and I began to perfect my skills and become very good at it. So good that I was about to travel with my aunt with plays, and I became great at that. But when I started, we had a musician that my father fired from the church. He let him go, and he said, if you do something, I'm going to fire you this day. And my father fired him, and I went to the piano and I started playing. There was a time I was playing, when I couldn't play it on the piano, I would go to the drums. When I could play it on the piano, I would play it on the little keyboard we had then was a Juno 60, and I played then. I would be picking out songs, and so much that my father saw my sincerity that he set me up with the teacher. And what I'm saying to you is that it's progression. I started off learning how to play and playing more to the point that I was playing for the service. And I wasn't the best musician, but I understood how to carry certain notes and make certain things happen. What I'm saying to you, that there's a progression, there's a purpose, that you must clarify where you're trying to go. Either you're going to play the drums or you're going to do the piano. I had to clarify that keyboard or the piano where I was going. So I taught my brother Ezekiel how to play the drums, my brother Herman how to play the drums, and I began to focus and put my energy on the keyboard and the piano. And what I'm telling you today is that you need to make sure that your purpose is aligned. Focus on your purpose to fulfill what you're supposed to do on this earth. What is God's purpose for you? If you don't know, spend time. Stand on the tower and wait and talk to the Lord and ask him, what is my purpose and what is the next thing that I must do? What is your vision for my life? Where you're taking me? What should I be doing? And God will align your purpose when you speak to him and you question him about your next steps. Which brings me to my life-giving points. I'm going to give you 3 points. The first thing is this, that you must clarify your purpose. You need to clarify your purpose. Just like Habakkuk was instructed to write the vision, we must clarify our purpose and goals in life. This helps us stay focused and directed toward what God has called us to achieve. So what is your purpose? What is that thing inside of you that you really want to do? That thing you can't shake, that what you really want to do. That is your purpose. What is your purpose for the vision? What is your purpose for what God is taking you? What is your purpose for living? The scripture in Genesis chapter 1, clear, God says to you to be fruitful, to multiply, to do the earth and have dominion. Those things are there. So whatever you have been placed on this earth to design to do, those points will be correlated with it. What is your design? What do you love to do? What are you trying to fulfill in the purpose that God has for your life? That thing that's inside of you that you can't shake. I don't care what you do. That thing that's inside of you that you can't remove. Whatever it is simply God speaking through you to do what it is. Listen to me, that you must clarify what purpose that God has for you. You got to clarify it. You got to know exactly what it is. You got to know what it means. When somebody try to bring something that's contrary to your purpose, then you need to remove that from your life, because that does not match with your purpose. What are you willing to do? What are you trying to say? Where are you trying to go? Does what is being happening in your life match with that? And we have to have the strength enough to make the changes that need to be made. But are you willing to do it? Are you willing to clarify your purpose and live on that and allow God to provide and take care of every step of the way? Here's the second life-giving point, is to make it plain. We simply have to make sure that our visions and goals are plain. You have to understand what you're doing. Make it clear. The vision should be clear and easy to understand. Your vision should be clear and easy to understand. It's simply just like I did when I was doing the church. In the church, I made the vision so clear and plain that so there will be no discrepancies about it. There will be no discrepancy about what God was doing. There was no discrepancies about what we were trying to do within that church. And anything that came contrary to that will remove itself because it did not match with the vision. I'm telling you that you have to make it plain. What is it that you're going to do? What is it? Not only for yourself, but for others. Because others will come to try to remove what you're trying to do. Others will come to try to stop what you're trying to do. And if you know your vision, can't nobody come in and get it. Can't nobody come in and make you move. Jesus knew who he was on this earth. He knew what his purpose was. He knew where he was trying to go. He knew how to definitively to make sure that what was happening on this earth had nothing to do with no one else but him. His purpose was aligned with what him and God spoke about. Like in John chapter 1, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, so as it was in the beginning. In the beginning, the Word. Jesus already knew what his steps was. He made it plain. Him and God had that conversation. He made it plain. And if you know in the scripture that he went up daily and talked to the Lord, even when he was getting ready to die on the cross, he had conversations with God. He was talking about it. He went to a bitter moment. He had those conversations with God that his purpose would be aligned with what God was telling him to do. He had that moment of frailty, but he remembered what him and God talked about. See, so many of us are doing visions and we're doing things and we had not had the conversation with God. We have not had that moment with him to show us what we need to do and where we are going in life. We're just aimlessly moving across the earth. But when you have time with God and you spend time with him and you know where you are going, then it's easy for you to walk in what he has said for your life, to walk in what he wants you to do for your life, because you are making it plain. And here's the third thing, that you must run with it. I don't mean tell everybody, but you need to make sure that once you have a clear vision, we must take action and run with it. Run with it. It's like I was telling you that I heard this morning. I kept hearing that man say, do it now. Do it now. Do it now. Some of you know that. You've written the vision, you made it plain, and it's clear, and you're precise, but it means do it now. Do your vision now. I like what Myron Golden says, that's so powerful, that disruption always follows intention. Anytime you start pushing towards something or start wanting to do something, there will always be disruption. And most of the time when disruption comes in some of our lives, we run. We run away when disruption comes or things come that we never thought would come with the vision or come with anything. We run. And disruption is sent to solidify what God has called you. The enemy came to try to destroy Jesus. He came to destroy Christ. He came to destroy him. He came to remove him from the earth. He thought by killing him on the earth that it would simply destroy the vision that God had put inside of him. But Jesus knew who he was. He even told, when he was talking to the king, he told the king, listen here, you're not taking my life. I'm choosing to give it away. And I'm saying to you is you need to know the purpose that you and God have talked about and the questions y'all have had, to settle in that, to settle in the goals and the purposes that in your vision that he has given for you to do. You have to be settled in that. You have to make sure that regardless of what is being done, what people are simply saying to you, that the vision and the purpose that God has given to you, you need to run with it. You've got to run with it. And this requires, the first thing, it requires faith. Hebrews 11:1 says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Faith is required. Faith is absolutely required. It's the common sense that God gives you to move. There's some things that we do that is foolishness. But the things that God blesses us with is simply faith. It's just like you might simply have your house, your mindset on a house that's paying $1,700 a month. And you have $1,700 a month ready to go. But God can give you a $2,500 a month house for $1,700 a month. What I'm saying to you, God, faith, he operates in understanding. He operates in clarity. He operates in purpose. And he does not operate in foolishness. So faith is an action word. The next thing, perseverance. You got to persevere. There are times you want to give up and times that you want to quit. And in time you want to remove yourself. But you have to have perseverance. You must persevere. You must continue to go. You must preserve. You must continue to go and continue to go so God can use whatever he has given you to do so he can ignite the purposes of God that move within your life. And here's the final thing is that you must have dedication. You must have dedication. You got to be dedicated to the cause that God has given you. You have to be dedicated to the cause, to the purpose, to what God has given you. Because no one else can do what God has given you to do. You got to elevate your thinking. You got to make sure that you're clarifying your purpose. Secondly, you got to make sure that you make it plain. Once you clarify what your purpose that God has created you, and your purpose doesn't come from nowhere else. When you're doing a driver's test, your purpose is driving. Your purpose is understanding that's driving. So you can't get your purpose from nobody else on this earth. Your purpose has to come from God, the thing that God has created you to do. But if you never spend time in the manual, if you never spend time studying, or you never spend time reading the word that God has set forth, you can never do what he has called you to do, because everything that you need in this earth to clarify your purpose is in the word. You got to make sure that you make it plain. And you got to make sure that once you make it plain and you clarify, you need to run with it, and you need to continue to move in that purpose that God has called you to do. So everything that's aligned in your life is aligned in your life. I need you to know that God has everything under control. So remember, stay blessed by the best. And everything that you need is in the word. Have a good day.